Okay, so now that we've broken down atoms, okay, I'm going to go in further detail on the other things in lesson 1, okay? We know what elements are, okay? Elements are just raw materials made of only one kind of atom. They're organized on a periodic table. Some examples are like hydrogen and oxygen, okay? Every element has an element label like this. Where do we find those? On a periodic table, okay? So then an atom is the smallest particle of a substance, and in parentheses I added in the word element. It includes protons, electrons, and neutrons. For every element, we could draw an atom that looks slightly different because every element has a different number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay? Now, molecule and compound, it gets a little bit fuzzy. Okay? Molecule is two or more atoms joined together. We know what an atom is. If there are two atoms joined together, it's a molecule. Okay? So like here, it shows us O2, means that's two oxygen atoms joined together. O3, we actually call ozone, that is three oxygen atoms joined together. Since it's more than one oxygen atom, it is considered a molecule. Okay, so like O2, O3. Who thinks they know another molecule that we've probably heard before? CO2? That's not a, well, that is a molecule, but that's a compound. Elise? H2O. That's a compound. Graphite is an element. Okay, I want you to write H2. Right here, we're going to write these ones out here just so you can see the difference. All of those are just molecules because it's only one element, but there's more than one atom of that element. Remember, that little number tells us how many atoms are there. So this H2 means we have two hydrogen atoms together. This 2 means we have two what? Oxygen atoms joined together. What does this one, O3, mean? Hutley? We have three oxygen atoms joined together. So if it's only one element, which elements, we know they're elements by their symbol. If it's only one element and there's more than one of them, which means there are these little numbers which are subscripts, that means it's a molecule. One element, more than one atom is a molecule. Now it gets confusing when we start talking about compounds. Compounds are a substance that have atoms from different elements. These are the examples you were just giving me. H2O, CO2, carbon dioxide. Why are those compounds? Why are those compounds, Addie? Yeah, there's different elements mixed together to make a whole new substance. So this one right here is one carbon atom and how many oxygen atoms? 2. So this one is showing CO2 or carbon dioxide. Okay, that is the model. It's called a ball and stick model because it's circles and lines. For carbon dioxide, it is one carbon atom and 2 oxygen atoms. So how many atoms do you think are all together in one carbon dioxide molecule? Now I'm throwing in that word. Elise? 3, because it's one carbon atom, and it's easier to see it here, but we can still see it here. If those subscripts are kind of like our exponents, if there's not one listed, what is it? Like, remember, all numbers have exponents. If we don't put an exponent, what's the invisible exponent? It's not 0. 1. Yeah, remember the invisible exponent is 1. So if the letter is there, if the symbol is there, it means we have at least one of those atoms. So this one is 1 carbon atom to 2 oxygen atoms. So there are 3 atoms altogether in 1 carbon dioxide molecule. Lots of words here. Okay, what about H2O? Sorry, I should have put these ones flip-flopped. How many atoms are in a water molecule? Augie, how many atoms are in a water molecule? 3. 1, what? 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogen. Okay, this is confusing. That's why I tried to get you a picture where it's all together on one page so we have something to look back at. Okay, and what's confusing about that is all molecules are not compounds. So like this right here is only a molecule. Who can tell me why it's only a molecule? Addie? Yeah, there's only one element. There's just multiple of the same element. All compounds are molecules. Underline that. All compounds are molecules. So that's kind of going back to, in math, how we said different things we can call them by different names. Like I could say, hey kid, and be talking to Wyatt. But is that the most specific name I can give him? No, I could call him Wyatt is the most specific name I could give him. When we're looking at these crazy things up here on the board, the most specific name I can call this is a molecule. Okay, that's the most specific name I can call it because it's one element and multiple atoms of that same element. Over here, these are also molecules because they're 2 or more atoms joined together. But they're also more than one type of element, so the most specific name I could call it is a compound. Okay, when you're trying to decipher between a compound and a molecule, deciding if I'm going to call it a compound or a molecule, what do you think my focus should be on? If I'm trying to decide if it gives me something like this, how can I decide if it's a molecule, if I'm going to call it a molecule, or if I'm going to call it a compound? Gabe, what do you think? Okay, he said see how many letters are in there. What's he actually looking for if he's looking at letters? Addie J? Yeah, see if there's more than one element in that formula. So this one has a capital C and a capital O. So there are 2 elements, which means it is a compound. Okay, and this is confusing. I'm not denying that. That's why we're spending time to kind of break it down. Okay, keep this piece of notes page out, and I'm going to give you another piece of paper. Okay, so in IXL we use it a lot for math. You use it some for ELA. There's also science in there. Some of the science goes with our textbook, some of it isn't in our book. So we use it when we can, but there's not a whole lot of science skills in IXL that we can use. But this chapter is in there. So we're going to use IXL to kind of practice the difference between elements, atoms, molecules, and compounds, because it is kind of confusing. Okay, so we just have to practice it. So later on, because again, our science time's cut short this afternoon due to Eagle Squad. So we're going to do some examples together now, and then this afternoon you're going to practice some of these IXL skills on your own. Okay? So the first skill you're going to go to later, and you'll have to click science. You know how usually you click math or ELA? You're going to click science. The first skill you're going to go to is F.1, and it's called ball and stick models. In Science IXL, it's a little bit different than math. You don't get to a certain SMART score. It's just they only give you a certain number of questions. Okay, so that'll be slightly different. So I just said complete it. I think it's like 4 questions and then 4 harder questions. So 8 questions altogether. But they will all look like this one. And this one was copied and pasted from IXL, which means whatever it says here, it'll say the exact same thing on every single problem that you see. So it says, and again, this is all going to be given to you when you get to this type. It says, hint, the symbol for carbon is C. It says, count the carbon atoms in this molecule. How many carbon atoms are in that one molecule, Addie? 2. 2. With your pencil, just put a 2 down here. You don't have to squeeze it in that box. There are 2 carbon atoms. If I asked you how many atoms make up the entire molecule, who can answer that one, Lexi? How'd you get 8? Yeah, there's 6 hydrogen atoms and 2 carbon atoms. Okay, but this one just said carbon atoms, so your answer would be 2. You'd hit submit, move on to the next question. Okay, so you will have a few like that where it gives you the model and you just have to tell me how many of the atom that they ask about there are. Thumbs up, thumbs down, pretty easy? Okay, perfect. When you do those ones, next is F.2, and you're matching the chemical formulas to the ball and stick model. And again, this one you're going to try and complete. So this one says, select the chemical formula for this molecule. So chemical formulas are written by the type of atom and the number of them. So how many different types of atoms do we see, Gabe? 4 different types? 2 different types. What are the 2 different types you see? Just give me the symbols. You don't have to know what they mean. C, I, and P. Okay, and that's L. C, L, and P. When you're working this, I suggest you kind of jot those down. What else do you think is important when they're writing the formulas, Hutley? Yeah, how many of each of those? So how many CLs do we have? 3. How many P's do we have? Just 1. So now we have to go down here and see which of the formulas say that. So who thinks they see which one matches? Aubrey? Yeah, this one right here, because there's 1 P and there are 3 CLs. Who can explain to me what the second one is? Elise? Yeah, it's just 1 P atom. What about this one, PCl, Carter? Yeah, 1 P and 1 Cl atom. What about that crazy one? Lainey?
2 HP.
Hold on. So capital letters kind of separate the elements. So if it's 2 capital letters next to each other, that's 2 different elements. Some elements have 2-letter symbols, but the second letter is always lowercase. So that's 1H.
1P.
Is there 1P?
2P.
2 P's.
CL3.
And 3 Cl. So how many atoms does that one have all together? Gabe?
5.
So there's 3 Cl's, 2 P's. How many H's? 1. The H's are the trick one because they don't have the or the subscript, the little number at the bottom. So that one actually has 6 atoms altogether. Okay? So that one, thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, I think when we break them up, they're not so confusing. When we push them all together, it's a little confusing. Okay, flip that paper to the back. There's one more skill. Classify elementary substances and compounds using chemical formulas. Now, they threw a new vocabulary word at us. What did I put in my notes right here? An elementary substance is just an element. And I want you to look right there. What word is in elementary?
Elementary.
element, okay? When they use the word elementary substance, they're just referring to an element. So now here's some examples, and we're going to decide if they are an elementary substance. We're just going to put an E next to them. Or a compound, we're going to put a C. So the first one, if it's a capital Z, capital N, is that one element or is that multiple elements? Ava? How do you know it's just one? Because there's two letters. Yes, look for the capital letters. Okay, what about H2O? Is that an element or is that a compound, Elia? That is a compound. Good job. AG, Braylon?
An element.
Okay, why is that an element and not a compound? Because I see two letters.
Because both letters are capitalized.
Yeah, because one's capitalized, one's lowercase. So that means they go together, and that's either gold or silver. I don't remember which one. Silver. Okay. Last one. CH3FeO. Fisher? Compound. Who thinks they can tell me how many atoms are in that one compound? Aiden? 6. Good job. That's actually an IXL skill too, but I left that one off today. That's a more advanced one. Okay? So does all of this make sense? During science time this afternoon, sorry, my voice cracked there. You're going to just, when you get in here, you'll just log into IXL and work through these 3 skills. When you get done, you're done for the day. Does that all make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. You can get your science stuff put away.